Yeah, so I don't know.
Hello and welcome back to Tinker Talks Guns. So this morning I watched a very interesting video on the 1776 Duck YouTube channel where they discussed with Ken Hackathorn whether or not you need a custom 1911. And that's a valid question. Of course, you have to actually like 1911s and you know how to run them for that to have any relevance. But it's a good question. And that video is linked in the description below. You should go down and click on that link and watch that video because it's very interesting and a result that I found entirely predictable but maybe surprising to a lot of people. Now, I love 1911s. To me, it's like the small block Chevy of handguns. You can do anything with it. And most of my guns are specialized that I do myself for performance. And by that I mean a specific kind of performance. The ability to deliver solid hits on target very, very quickly, as quickly as possible. Guns like the Slab, which is specialized and highly engineered, if I do say so myself, specifically to make the smallest possible rapid fire groups possible at 7 to 10 yards. And to keep them all nicely in the A zone at distances out to 25 yards. And there's a lot of work in this, a lot of thought, and a lot of engineering. As I keep saying, combination of the spring weight, the ported barrel, things made slicker inside so that it is smooth, but tight enough to maintain good accuracy without being so tight that it becomes unreliable. Put a lot of work into that, a lot of thought. And that's a critical thing. That has to do with why I like working on 1911 so much. And we'll get to that. Before we get any further in the weeds, let me thank my supporters from Patreon. It's very much a shoestring operation and your contributions help more than you know. Also like to thank channel benefactors, those individuals and businesses that have contributed to the channel in innumerable ways and really helped make this work. And as always, shout out to Rain City Shooting Center for providing material support to the channel. Oh, and yes, I know, this is a 2011. Same difference. And some guns I have specialized for concealed carry, as small as is reasonably possible, yet still capable of delivering that rapid fire accuracy that I desire so much, both because it's fun and because in self-defense situation you want to put rounds on target as rapidly and accurately as possible. And this also has an aesthetic that is an homage to the Detonics Combat Master. It's not all practical. I have gone so far as to purpose build a Carry 2011 with race gun performance. Extreme rapid fire accuracy, excellent handling and ergonomics, and a rather battered but extremely functional enclosed emitter optic. And it performs very well. It does what I wanted it to, and that took a lot of effort on my part. And again, it is tight enough but not too tight, and offers very good practical accuracy, and satisfies the need for speed. This is an Ed Brown Cobra Compact 45. And no, it is not mine. I can't afford guns like this. And it has mammoth ivory grips. It has this beautifully machined, like almost like a seashell or scale texturing everywhere you need it, except arguably up here. It has excellent sights and all these custom parts with the skeletonized hammer and the beautifully blended in beaver tail grip safety and the bobtail, and it is smooth. I mean, forget smooth as glass. This is like butter. I mean, it is just, there is just nothing anywhere in here hanging up or in any way catching, and it is an understated elegance to it that is really a visual and tactile delight. When I decided I needed the most practical option for potentially dealing with unruly wildlife in my expeditions beyond civilization, I tried a number of options and I wound up with the 1911. Because after firing tens of thousands of rounds through them over the decades and handling them so much that the manual of arms is basically hardwired at this point, and because they have a very fine trigger and are very good for rapid fire accuracy. And if I have an encounter with an unruly black bear or feral dog, I'm going to shoot fast whether I mean to or not. So it might as well be something I can get good hits with. And so I made this gun specifically built around that purpose. And of course, I'm massively overthinking this, but it's part of the fun. And it's smooth enough, has a very good trigger, very good reset on the trigger, and it's a little lighter than a full-size 1911 or a 44 Magnum revolver, and with the right load, 45 is quite adequate for the relatively modest size dangerous animals that I am likely to encounter, if I encounter any at all, in our local wildernesses. And I love them, and more importantly, I love doing them. I love making them. Okay, this one isn't mine, but I just love handling it. As I say, it is a visual and tactile delight. It just feels good just to hold it. And the trigger is superb. The reset is amazingly short. And it's a very nice gun to shoot. And it's very easy to shoot well with it. So why am I considering making this my EDC? Because right now my EDC is based on a 1911. Because of the familiarity with the manual of arms, because of the endless hours of handling them, the thousands and thousands of rounds of firing them, it is not the perfect EDC gun. But it works really well for me, and in fact, in practical shooting tests, it works better than anything else. So why, again, would I consider this? Now, as Palmetto State Armory dagger micros go, this is a really nice one. The trigger is better than factory Glock. It's fine, but it does have this very nice aftermarket slide with a ported barrel. This was featured in a recent video, and it was a present for my birthday, and I shoot it very well. Do I shoot it as well as my most common 1911 based carry gun? No. I shoot groups, rapid fire groups, under a variety of circumstances that are significantly smaller than with this gun. But this gun is half the weight. It's significantly smaller. It is flatter. And I shoot very acceptable self-defense style groups with it. And it holds 2 more rounds. So it may be a better tool for the job for me. Because seriously, the difference between a 4-inch rapid fire group at 7 yards and a 2-inch rapid fire group at 7 yards is a difference that makes no difference. It is not going to be the deciding factor in a gunfight. And I really do enjoy shooting this, and I'm quite impressed with how right out of the box, first time shooting it, I shot it really well. So it's got a lot going for it. And it may just wind up being my EDC. So the question asked in the other video is, do you need a custom 1911 or indeed a custom any gun? No, you don't. You really, really don't. At the absolute peak level of competition, whether it's Bullseye or IDPA or whatever, you know, a gun that shaves 0.2 of a second off your time might actually matter, and you might actually be good enough to capitalize on that benefit. Seriously. But do you know who benefits from a custom gun? A super nice gun like this? Shooters with absolutely no experience and shooters that are at the absolute top of what they do. Because the people in the middle are not in the right place to really benefit. Let me explain that. So, when you hand a new shooter a gun for the first time, they're going to find it easier to use if it's got enhanced ergonomics and a superb trigger and an excellent sight system. It's just going to be easier for them because they don't know what they're doing and they're going to follow instructions, and everything with that gun is easier. For the people at the absolute top, as we mentioned, they might have to shave 0.2 of a second off a time, and that might actually make a meaningful difference in competition. But it's never... The odds of that making a meaningful difference in a life or death situation are so vanishingly small as to not even be worth considering. Now, in the video, which I hope you watched, they discovered that with a high-end 1911, each of them with a high-end 1911, a mid-range but enhanced 1911, and a literal GI issue 1911 on a fairly relevant and demanding course, they shot for all practical purposes identically. Now, they are both very, very good shooters. So, skill overcomes the benefit of the full-blown custom gun. Now, here's the thing. Custom 1911s and custom anything, I mean, yes, technically this is a custom gun. There's something called diminishing returns, where you have to spend more and more money or effort to get tiny incremental increases in performance. And for the most part, in real-world situations, you can overcome those deficits, however tiny they are in the standard guns, with training. I mean, unless a gun has a truly appallingly bad trigger, at a certain point in your shooting ability, you're just not going to get that much benefit from shooting a gun with a better trigger, because you've learned to work with what you have, and your skill is the deciding factor in your shooting. And that is true practically across the board with shooters. Okay? A high-end custom gun is not a substitute for skill. You have to have the skill, in fact, to capitalize on the additional qualities, and then the benefit you're going to reap from it in real terms is going to be tiny. So why do we do it? Why do we spend $3,000 on an Ed Brown? Why do I spend endless amounts of time making a specialized, high performance, high speed, low drag carry gun? Because it's cool. Because it's fun. Because it's neato. And, you know, I don't care if you're throwing an Apex trigger in your Glock. In realistic terms, the benefits that you will reap from that can and should be overcome by training. It's that simple. You don't buy a gun like this because, well, in absolute terms, it has better performance, and you may even be good enough in absolute terms to benefit from that performance in the right venue, which is probably not going to be a self-defense shooting. You get this because you want it, not because you need it. It's not about need. I would love to own this gun. But in my financial straits, that's not going to happen. But I can appreciate this gun. I can ooh and awe over how just ridiculously smooth it is, how crisp and light the trigger is, how short and tactile the reset is. It's an object of delight. And yes, part of the fun for me is coming up with a plan, executing the plan, and seeing it come to fruition, and having it actually work, and making it work the way I want it to work. That has nothing to do with utility. Well, okay, if maintaining my sanity has utility, which it arguably does, yeah, it has value in that sense. Custom guns, no matter what people tell themselves, are not about need or utility. They're about love. They're about care. Maybe they're about ego too, and bragging rights. Because I get a real kick out of watching someone fire a couple shots with this and turn and stare at me with their mouth hanging open. That's a big rush, and I love it. But it's not a need. And that is the grand and glorious thing about this pursuit, this hobby, whatever you want to call it. It doesn't have to be about need. In fact, when it's entirely about need, it's kind of sad. This is something that can engage your mind, your passion, your soul, if you will. And that has value disproportionate to performance or money. They're cool. They feed my soul. They engage my mind. And sometimes just sheer appreciation of the craftsmanship and functional beauty of them. Not on my guns, they're ugly. But that is why I don't want to hunt upland game with a CZ shotgun. They're great. They're wonderful shotguns. But it's just so much more special to do it with my LC Smith double. Because the craftsmanship, the love that went into its creation, there's an indefinable something about it that just makes it more satisfying to use. You know, a Glock is an excellent appliance. You know, it is a fantastic tool. It is perhaps the best general issue service gun ever made. But it doesn't stir anything in me. It's a supremely competent, very well thought out appliance. And I can appreciate the thought that went into it, from everything from how easy it is to manufacture to being suited to task for exactly what it needs to do. But there's no beauty in it. and there's no wonder in it. And something that I have carefully engineered for a specific purpose is always an object, a pleasurable object for me. Or something that someone has lavished endless care on just to make it special. And care enough to address the irrelevant little details that just make it better, even if it's not in a way that is meaningful. And this is why I like handcrafted older guns. But it's not about need. So, that's it for this time. I hope this finds you well. Stay safe, take care, and I'll talk to you again real soon.